Oh, their sergeant, be safe.
New Year's safety tips. I'm here having a good time, dancing it up with Captain Chaos and his canine Kraken. We're going to give you a few safety tips so you can have a safe holiday. If you're going to use fireworks to bring in the new year, make sure you know your state and local laws. Also, make sure you're mindful of your neighbors and having them pointed in a safe direction and avoiding flammable objects. Adults, don't drive drunk. Make sure you have a designated driver. Or arrange for safe transportation home. And for those of you that like to have firearms, it may be fun to shoot them off in the air, however, that's reckless activity. What goes up does come down, and you can accidentally hit someone with a stray bullet, seriously hurt them, and or kill them. So don't change the course of your life or someone else's just to celebrate a holiday. Because you don't want to see the mean side of Kraken, as he has to be aggressive.
Release the Kraken!
Captain Chaos and I want you to have a peaceful and fun holiday. Celebrate 2023. Enjoy the new year. Live your life with a purpose and follow your dreams. And prepare for more cartoons of me and my friends, so we can give you more tips of the day to get you on your way. Let's go start the show.
Right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Black and Blue. For those of you that who transitioned from the lab, this is now Black and Blue, where we highlight police officers, law enforcement officials across the nation who are either rookie, seasoned, or retirees. And we acknowledge their experiences, we acknowledge their businesses, we acknowledge their websites, or publications. We have a lot of fun doing it. I got a special guest in the background. I'll introduce him in a minute. But first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for continuing to support the show, to come to the show and enjoy the platform in 2023. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you all are safe and healthy, and we're going to continue to learn, and we're going to continue to have fun, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Hope you guys like the new intro. That is the new intro for 2023. A lot of work, a lot of fun was put into that. It's going to be going on forward. I am Coach Clee. I am your host. It's your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker. I'm throwing a little shade right there as far as we are streaming on 5 different platforms right now for those of you who are tuning in. We're 2 on Facebook, we are 2 on YouTube, and we are 1 on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to have your questions, make sure I can't see who's on here until you put your name or your question in the comment section. They'll get acknowledged, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. If you're looking for a shout out, put those in the comment section as well, and we'll give you that shout out that you're looking for. One Way Publishing that you see got a few comments here I see coming in. One Way Publishing you see is in the comment section, workwithlee.com. If you're looking for One Way Publishing is a sponsor. Their motto is they can turn a mere thought into a book that's bought. I wrote a couple of back here that you can see. There's a couple other clients that came through the publication itself. They wrote their own publications, authored their own books as well. It's a lot of fun. They can get it done. Turn a mere thought, turn it into a book that's bought. One of our sponsors here. It's also in the comment section. So go check out the website when you can. Also, our guest, his website is in the comment section. I'll introduce him here in a minute. Like I just said, got to get these announcements out. Sergeant B, I see you guys. I see you. Thank you guys. Happy New Year to you. I see a few dads on here. He's one of the voiceovers for Sergeant B Safe. Make sure you check him out. He's actually the voice of Captain Chaos. Yep, I see Jamon's on here, one of our board of directors. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shayla's on here, another board of director. Great work. Loves the intro. The opening was awesome. Yeah, I was looking for your feedback earlier, but I guess I get it now. I see Tristan's on here. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a lot of fun. And nope, not acknowledging that one. You know, certain football teams don't get a shout out. All right, I'm going to move past that one. But One Way Publishing, again, Sergeant B Safe is going to say it best. Here he is to explain One Way Publishing. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Sergeant B Safe. One Way Publishing is the sponsor for the podcast Black and Blue. And these books behind me are a few of the books that are on their website. Check out the latest one, The Lab Part 2. It just came out. It's a compilation of former guests that were on the show. But make sure you tune into the podcast. That way you can see cartoons of me giving out safety tips on how you can be safe. See for yourself. Go to the website, workwithclee.com.
Subscribe now.
All right, and like I said, One Way Publishing is available to supply your needs. Make sure you check them out. Let me get these banners back up here. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I got a special guest backstage right now. His name is Brandon Griffith. He is from Arizona. He's a 13-year vet as a law enforcement deputy sheriff. He's also had many years as an EMT in that same venue as well. He's the founder and CEO of Griffith Blue Heart, and he's going to discuss that here more momentarily once we get into the meat and potatoes of this interview. He's a cardiac arrest survivor. He's also on the board of, correct me if I'm wrong when you get on here, the Arizona Department of Health and Services, Heart Disease and Stroke. You're on that work group as well. Brandon, he's also a husband to his high school sweetheart and a father to his 2 wonderful, incredible kids. Ladies and gentlemen, give him some thumbs up, give him some applause. I'm going to bring him to the stage now. Brandon, are you here?
I am here. Thank you, sir, for having me on. I love that intro.
Absolutely. Thank you for making yourself available. I am starstruck. I am looking forward to getting into this interview and getting to learn a little bit more about you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get the likes up, get your comments ready. Brandon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Absolutely, man. I'm an Arizona native, born and raised. Been in law enforcement since 2008. Used to work in EMS. I'm definitely a big family man. I love mountain biking. I've been a lifelong martial artist, and I love doing instruction, going out firearms, combatives, whatever we can get into.
Gotcha. So, what exactly got you and gave you the burning desire to be a servant for the public, be an EMT or to be in law enforcement? Did something give you that as a kid, or did you come into that while you were in high school, or some sort of training, or going off to college, or anything like that?
Man, growing up, I was a knucklehead. I was one of those diagnosed ADHD kids, always in trouble. I was every teacher's nightmare. I mean, I got the cops called to our school. I got expelled. I was not a good kid, man. And the only thing that really helped me, my parents were smart enough to give me an outlet. They got me signed up in martial arts at the age of 4, and
Okay.
having something to channel that energy and get through it got me surrounded by military and law enforcement, and they had no patience for any of my recklessness and me clowning around. So they would smack me upside the head and tell me what was what and how to carry myself. And as I grew up, I saw the way that they carried themselves. I started doing ride along with some of the cops. I started looking at military. I knew that I wanted to go into public service. I wanted to do something, because if not, I was going to go down a whole different other path. So I
Gotcha.
kind of got into the desire early on. I was going to do the military first, but I fell in love with my high school sweetheart, and I did not want to be away from her. So I decided to focus on law enforcement until I was old enough to do that. I worked private security and became an EMT. And man, there's nothing like public service. There's nothing like becoming a cop. You know, when you find that missing kid, when you get to save a life, when you get to put someone in a cage that truly deserves it,
Right.
there's nothing like that feeling. And once I got out in the streets, I got hooked. I absolutely loved it. Anytime I could get out there and go after the worst, and get in pockets, I was all about it.
Absolutely, man. You said a lot, and you said enough right there. It's truly a front row ticket to the best job in the world. It's a thankless job at the time. A lot you see a lot of trauma, you see a lot of crap, but it's worth it because I mean, who else would you want to do it? If not you, then who? We hear that all the time. And to make a difference in this world, a positive difference is what's needed. This job is so very cyclic; it goes up and down. But this is one thing that's a constant because it's the thin blue line. Our job is to keep the peace and order.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So, did you have any mentors or influencers, like you said, when you were coming up at the age of 4, you studied martial arts, and they would smack you around and get you kind of rough you up and get you in line. Did you have any other mentors or influencers that helped you get to the level of where you're at today?
I have been extremely fortunate. And not only did I have amazing family, and did I have Quadranim or Master Tim Elliott raising me up in Hurungdo growing up, but once I got into the law enforcement area, man, I got surrounded by some of the best in the country, man. I had a phenomenal sergeant who was my team leader, who took me under his wing immediately. Once I got into law enforcement, some of the guys saw me in the martial arts I was doing and coaching some of the other guys, and they said, "Hey, you got to go do this training with Tacflow Academy. This guy Rico DeRazzo, he's going to blow you away." And I'm like, okay. I went in there with an ego. I went in there, I was like, who the heck's this guy? And oh my God, but my jaw hit the floor. It opened up a whole new world of combatives. And I was like, I've been doing everything wrong for the last 20
Wow.
years. And I wanted to learn how to actually adapt things into combat and make it work. When you got someone high on math slashing a knife at you, how does that
Yeah.
actually work? It's completely different than, you can focus years on your craft and martial arts just to make one thing work. And you have to strive and be your best to make that thing work. But when you
Right.
start learning how body mechanics work and real combat works, it's very easy to shut people down. It's very easy to stop it before it happens. So it kind of became my lab. I hooked up with the director of training there, Rigo DeRazzo, and he
Mhm.
became a phenomenal mentor. Took me out and started introducing me to the spec ops community, started getting me out with SWAT teams. And I got to see a whole different caliber of instructors and guys that truly were selfless servants that knew how to hone in and help build the best versions of people's selves. And
Mhm.
that's something that I can't replace. I got surrounded by mentors with that. And once I got in the cardiac world, I started working with some true rock stars. I mean, Dr. Ben Balbro, who created hands only CPR and saved I don't know how many lives with Dr.
Wow.
Kern. He was the state EMS trauma director to help me get my job back after my cardiac arrest.
Wow.
And being able to learn from him, being able to learn from one of the pioneers in it, and getting plugged in internationally in the cardiac community, man, I've had some amazing mentors and people out there, and along with my assistant chief of police, Mark Mann, who stood by me through everything we're going to talk about today. Being able
Right.
to have men of that caliber have your back and show you how to do it and how to walk the walk is something that I can't be more grateful for.
Absolutely, man. It's just amazing the people that have the influence over you and kind of and build you up, and then you working in the job of service, you give it back. Can you explain to us and share with us what your current role and responsibilities are with your department and with your nonprofit?
Yeah, man. So I've been very fortunate in my law enforcement career. I've been able to do patrol. I've been field training officer, crisis intervention. I've been a firearms DT, combatives instructor. I made SWAT, drug interdiction. I got to do a lot of really cool stuff with some amazing individuals. But after my incident we're going to talk about, I realized that I could make a larger impact working predominantly outside of law enforcement. So I dropped to a reserve capacity. I don't consider myself a real cop anymore. I'm not hitting the streets 40, 60 hours a week. I do my hours each month, but I try to implement life-saving programs with departments across the nation and other countries now. I realized I can make a bigger impact and save more lives doing that, but I'm still addicted to the job. I couldn't walk away with it. So I'm currently a reserve officer. I'm doing some health and wellness work. I'm helping with resuscitation programs. And I also still work on the training side, helping out with DT, firearms, and combatives instruction. But outside of law enforcement, my nonprofit, which is my primary role now, I am the founder and CEO of Griffith Blue Heart Nonprofit. We prepare, train, and equip law enforcement for time-sensitive medical emergencies. You know, your cardiac arrests, your drownings, your bleeding control, your overdoses, excited deliriums, all the stuff that we respond to constantly.
Right, absolutely. And like we were talking backstage, those are the type of things that you need to be prepared for at a moment's notice, because you get a call or just randomly you just roll patrolling around the corner and you roll up on something and you have no idea what exactly is going on. And once you figure it out, you got to be able to react. And you don't want to start thinking, if you're doing CPR, you don't want to say, is it one finger, two fingers on a child? Do I hold them this way? Do I turn them upside down? Is it back? How many backslide? You need to have muscle memory and react. Absolutely. You are it until somebody else who's better trained than you gets on scene. And there's so many times where officers are thrown into the fire that's, hey, you did a quick tourniquet application in a classroom 2 years ago, right? Okay, go save that guy's life. Or, hey, here's Narcan. Here's my choking baby. Save it. And there's so many guys that are not confident in their abilities because it's a perishable skill, just like firearms. And those that don't work on high performance and really test themselves under stress and put themselves in those situations can't perform. If you're not doing force on force in the range, it's extremely hard. You can shoot paper all day, but once that guy pulls the gun out and you're engaged in that fight, it's a completely different world, right? Same thing when it comes to life and death emergencies. You can talk about it, you can sit on a clicker mannequin, but real people don't click like that. And you don't have any markers. It's a whole different world when you got someone in front of you who's actually dying, and you're that until for the next 6 to 8 minutes until fire and EMS get on the scene. Exactly, and that 6 to 8 minutes could be a lifetime. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stand by. We're going to pause for the calls, and we're going to come back, and we're going to jump right into it. But starting to be safe, has to get one of these commercials. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Sergeant Be Safe here. And do you think I fight crime all by myself? Well, I don't. There's a whole team of us, and right now I'm going to introduce you to one of them. He's on his way here now. When he gets here, I want you to give him a warm welcome.
Hey crew, Captain Chaos here. I'm also a canine handler. Here's my dog Kraken.
Release the Kraken. Dance with my dogs in the nighttime.
Together we fight crime and keep everyone safe.
He's absolutely right. And he has a partner that rides along with him every day. It's his canine. And they work together to sniff out crooks that like to cause you and me trouble.
You guys know me. I'm Rob You Blind. No, I don't live here. This door was left unlocked. You guys make it very easy for me to steal your valuables. Sometimes I get my friends Chance Wilder and Treacherous Tony to help me.
Chance Wilder at your service. I'm the computer hacker and IT whiz. The scammer of all scammers. My friends Rob You Blind and Treacherous Tony often help me.
Yeah, I'm Treacherous Tony. I deal illegal drugs and pills.
This is just terrible news. Avoid him at all costs.
My new friends Robbie Blind and Chance Wilder brought me into their crew. I don't sell it to kids. I give it to them.
Ooh, party pooper be safe. You can't stop me. I know my rights. I'm just walking around here.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
Film Pack.
With more chaos comes more confusion. However, I'm Sergeant Be Safe, and I'll continue to stay here to give you your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Black and Blue. We got Brandon Griffith backstage. We just had a brief introduction on some of the things he does and some of his experiences, some of the things he provides here for us in the law enforcement community. I'm going to bring him back to the stage. Brandon, you still there?
I'm here, yes, sir.
Perfect. We're going to jump into it. Brandon, let me know. I know we briefly touched over a lot of the reason why a lot of people are here and going to be watching the replay. 17 minutes was very serious and very traumatic for you. What happened in those 17 minutes that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, it's something I never expected happened to me. And before I worked in law enforcement, I mean, the first time I did CPR, I was in high school, man, and I lost a buddy in college to it. I had an uncle go down. Heart disease affects so many people in our community. It's just one of those, especially being a young, fit cop. I just made my SWAT team. Everything was going well. My wife had just been accepted to medical school. I was in phenomenal shape. I never in a million years thought that I would drop dead from cardiac arrest. And, I wish I could tell you that I was in a foot pursuit or doing something cool or, on the football field getting hit. But I like 4 out of 5 cases, I was in my home. I was in my den reading a book. My wife was on the computer. I put the book down and said, hey, I'm going to take the dog out. I took 2 steps towards my door, and it was just... You ever had someone jump out and scare you, and your heart skips that beat, kind of that fluttering? Well, imagine that happening, but you can't recover from it. It's this weird flutter in your chest, and immediately I couldn't breathe. Even though I collapsed within about a second and a half, I experienced time distortion. Those that have been through critical stress incidents know what I'm talking about. Everything slowed way down, and I remember going, something's not right, and I remember bearing down and having my jugular veins start to distend. My face started turning the darkest purple my wife had ever seen. I'm trying to do combat breathing like we're taught to slow down my respirations, but when you're in cardiac arrest, there's no blood being pumped to your brain or anywhere else. Your lungs physically cannot expand with oxygen. So I started convulsing and started doing agonal breathing, trying to force myself to breathe. So my wife turns around, recognizes this is an emergency immediately, calls 911. I fall back into my bookshelf, breaking every tear on the way down. Wow. She tries to brace me and catch me, right? My wife is about 5'3", I'm 6'4". So I go right over her, put my head through the wall. I land on my hands and my knees, and I'm looking out in my hallway, and I'm starting to get tunnel vision. But it's not like what you experience in the field when your adrenaline starts pumping and it's hard to focus on certain things. There's a lot going on. It's not like that. It's this dark, dark purple. And I'm starting to see shapes and silhouettes, and things are fluttering out on me, right? Everything's closing in. In that moment, man, I can't tell you the feeling of helplessness. At that moment, here I am, a cop, I'm an EMT. I've saved, I don't know how many lives. I've done CPR. I've done tourniquet application. There is nothing I can do in this moment to save my own life. And that's when I knew that I was a goner, man. And that's when I collapsed. I dropped dead to my floor right there. My wife rolled me on my back. She started doing CPR on me. She worked on me for 4.5 minutes. And, she wasn't getting the depth she wanted. And she's a true genius. I mean, she put my feet up on the couch, so all the oxygenated blood on my legs would go down on my core. I can't get ER docs to think like that. The fact that she had that presence of mind in that moment still blows me away. But she worked on me for about 4.5 minutes. The first responder was obviously a cop. She had to stop what she's doing, go open the door, let him in. This officer was not equipped with an AED like most departments around our country, but he jumped on my chest and did an amazing job. He gave it everything he had. He worked on me until fire and EMS got there around the 9.5 minute mark. They go into my den. They had to get more room to work on me, so they dragged my body in the living room where they got more room to work. They're IO drilling me. They're dropping OPAs in my mouth. They're doing all this stuff. I was dead for like 16 minutes and 48 seconds before they finally they were able to resuscitate me.
Wow.
And when I was brought back, man, that pain is something that it's hard to describe to those who haven't been through it. You know, your arms and your legs, when you fall asleep on me, get those pins and needles feeling. Imagine that times 1,000. Like it hurts everywhere. My chest had been compressed in. I got stress fractures. There's blood in my mouth from when they put the OPA in. I can taste that. You know, when you get tased, you have that metallic taste in your mouth and that those weird tingles afterwards. But the worst of it was my head, man. With every single heartbeat, I'm getting these white flashes in my head. It feels like someone's taking a sledgehammer to the top of my head. And at that moment, I sat up. I started pushing the firefighters off me. My wife grabbed me by the face and told me, don't leave me. I said I won't before I collapsed backwards. In that moment, from that moment on, I don't remember anything almost nothing for the next 5 days because my brain was, recovering from oxygen deprivation. But I do remember feeling the sway of the gurney, and I could hear the firefighters walking on the rocks in my front yard. I mean, according to the crew, they said I was in good spirits. I was in the back of the ambulance calling them hose draggers and having a good old time. So I'm still friends with the guys this day, but they take me to the hospital and they start running all these tests on me, and I am in and out of consciousness. I'm waking up. My wife's there. I got some guys from my squad, and I'm passing back out. And they're telling me I died and came back. I'm passing back out. They're running every test possible, and they're looking at my heart, cardiac MRIs, and stress tests. I mean, they broke my blood down to chromosomic levels, looking for genetic mutations, and there was no diagnosis. Nothing wrong with my heart, healthier than a horse. And that's when I started realizing the magnitude of what cardiac arrest is, how many young people die every day, young athletic males being at the highest risk. And for me, they had no diagnosis for it. It was like, hey, from the time you're in the womb to the day you die, your whole sends electrical impulses. It takes one electrical misfire for you to drop dead, just like a brain aneurysm or something else. It can happen in a literal heartbeat. So now I'm 26 years old. I lost my spot on my SWAT team. Overnight, I don't know if I have a job. I got labeled as damaged goods. It's like, hey, we can't have this cop out here with a defibrillator. Obviously, my command staff didn't know anything about cardiac arrest. They all thought I had a heart attack or something. And I had to explain there's differences in all of this. And now that I have this device implanted in my chest and I'm on medication, I'm safer than any other cop out there. First responders are at a 70% higher risk of heart disease in the general population. And we are 25 times more likely to die from heart disease than a violent encounter with a suspect. We got 20-year less life expectancy than the people we serve. So I now had to fight to keep my job. I had to fight and go toe-to-toe with the governing board. We had to go to risk management. Thank God Chief Mark Mann had my back. He refused to let them cast me aside. And I brought in our state medical director and researchers, and I fought to go back. And as far as I know, I'm one of the only cops, if not the only cop, to return to full active duty with an implanted defibrillator in my chest. And that came with a whole other magnitude. I had to figure out, hey, does my radio interfere with this thing? What happens when I get tased? What happens if this? What happens when I go through metal detectors, when I'm going and booking somebody in jail? Like, I had to be the guinea pig, and it's not a fun thing when you're the first one to do it. You're calling Taser, and you're calling the manufacturer's device going, hey, what happens if I get tased? And the only answer you get is, we don't recommend it. Well, that's not an answer. I got to know what happens. And after 6 months, a year trying to figure this out, no one would give me an answer. So I called my SWAT medic and said, hey, bring your monitor over. I'm taking a ride. Tased myself, stood up, and nothing happened. I went in that day to get checked, and the tech was like, you did what? He's like, you realize you could have set this back to factory settings. You could have turned on the dormant pacemaker function. You could have done this. I said, then why wouldn't you tell me that when I called you guys for the last year? Why did I have to do something stupid in order to get an answer from you guys? Because they're all worried about liability and stuff. But long story short, I got back to the field, and we made a full recovery. I went back to full active duty, and now I had to prove myself to my guys. Everyone's looking at me like this fragile China doll, and I'm like, look, there's nothing wrong with me. I can outrun, I can outbench, I can outfight each of you. Let's do this. And it took a good 6 months to a year before guys realized that I wasn't just going to clutch my chest and fall over. I'm like, this could happen to anybody at any time. So that's when I realized how unprepared law enforcement really is. We're on scene first. Before the fire department, 90% of the time, we're usually on scene in the first 1 to 4 minutes, where we have the highest likelihood to save someone's life. So I'm sitting there going, why don't we have AEDs? Why does our training suck? Well, most of the time our training is you get a leftover class, like a PowerPoint, here's some clicker mannequins. They watch a stupid video for civilians. You call 911, you get an AED, and none of us take it seriously. And you take all 30 seconds on a mannequin and they go, hey, you're certified. None of us are focusing on good brain perfusion. We're not focusing on our depth. We're not focusing on our recoils, and we're not doing it realistic to our conditions. We're not doing it with the meth addict in the corner watching us. We're not doing this when we're doing it one-handed coordinating the fire department when you got a guy with a warrant in the corner and there's drugs everywhere. It's a very different atmosphere for cops. So we wanted to take that force on force training. We wanted to take the reality-based training we do for active shooters and for hostage rescue scenarios that we do in the SWAT world, and we wanted to bring that to resuscitation. So we created this course, and now we help implement entire systems of care. We created Griffith Blue Heart. We had to bring in experts because there was no playbook. Cops are kind of left in the middle. So we had to bring in all these experts for policies, for dispatch protocols. We had to talk about reality-based training, medical direction, and kind of give a whole system of care. You can't just throw AEDs in the back of the cop car and hope the system works out. Like, you have to have a plan in place and a whole system of care. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but that's basically how I got into this and how I got kind of thrust into it, trying to earn my second chance at life.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, that's an amazing story. I'm glad you made it through it, and just to fight for your life, and then to get that back, and then the fight to keep your job when you know that you're good, and then to be brave enough to actually take the ride yourself with the taser just to get an answer.
Or dumb enough.
Whichever word you want to fill in the blank with. I mean, when I took the ride the first time, it was mandatory with my former department. I said, if I don't have to do this ride, I'm not doing it again. If I don't have, I mean, just to clear, to get away from the curiosity of, I need to know what happens. I have to know, and to do it, and then not knowing what the outcome is going to be. The outcome was very favorable. I mean, that's amazing in itself. The fight for your job back. What kind of grit did that take to actually have to go forward with it? Because a lot of guys I know, I won't say a lot of guys I know, a lot of guys would, after dealing with a traumatic experience like that, would just hang it up and move on.
That was something that was a mental health roller coaster, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was not an easy thing to do. Like, literally all I wanted to do was get into law enforcement. Once I got a taste of it, once I started becoming an FTO and started getting into DT and firearms instruction, I loved it. I wanted to be a SWAT cop. I just made my team. I made my goal, and now to be told that you can't be a cop anymore. It was like, most young guys don't have a plan B. They don't prepare for that. What happens if you get in that car accident? What happens if you're shot in the line of duty? What happens if you have a brain aneurysm? Guys don't prepare for, what if I have to change careers tomorrow? And there's so much depression, and there's high suicide rates, and there's all kinds of other things that come with it. And it hit me like a freight train, man. Like, I was an emotional wreck. All I wanted to do was be a part of this brotherhood. I wanted to get back out on the streets. I wanted to serve. And there was nothing wrong with me. And now I'm being told you can't. And at first it was like, it was devastating, man. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of praying. There was a lot of talking to people that I looked up to, but it turned to anger real quick. It turned to, who the hell do you think you are? You can tell me what I can and can't do. I don't think so. I'm not taking no for an answer. And I had to go in there and say, show me where it says I can't do this with this medical device. And I had to go in there with that anger and that grit and say, I'm not backing down. I don't care what it takes. I'll tase myself. And it was a fight, man, and putting that on my family, because at this point in time, after your cardiac arrest, you're at the highest risk of having another one in the first 3 to 6 months. We don't know if I'm going to drop dead again. My wife was afraid to leave me at home. She had my SWAT team leader coming over to babysit me when she was at work sometimes. Like, it's a scary encounter, man. I was on the floor dead. She had to watch her husband, her high school sweetheart, dead on the floor for 16 and a half minutes, not knowing if I was coming back. Where's that income going to go? What about these medical bills? Like, all the stuff that goes along with that, she lived it. This is her story. It's not mine. I was dead on the floor. She did all the heroism here. So her recovering from that trauma during this was another aspect on top of that. So I had to take care of her. I had to take care of my mental health being. I had to take care of my job. How am I going to pay for my bills? She's just started medical school. How am I going to pay to support her through this? And it was tough. And I had to go in and dig to a place and turn to people. And once I got over that hurdle and returned to the field, it was still like, all right, well, you know what? Now that I'm back, now what? Like, I can still do more. I need to I need to give God a reason to keep me around. I need to do something with this second chance. And that's where I started looking around, seeing the real need and how underutilized cops are for these life and death scenarios, and how many hundreds of lives we can literally save per year. So that's when I started talking to my wife about, I need to do something with this. And and once I started getting involved, and once I started making the differences, and we started implementing these programs and getting those life saves, man, was that reaffirming, man. I can't tell you the emotional waves that come over me when we get calls from guys like, hey, I just got to save, or that AED you gave me, I just used it, and we just pulled the kid out of the pool. And when you get those phone calls and know that someone's life was saved and I was able to pay it forward and for my second chance, man, sorry, man, it gets me a little emotional, but it hits you, right? And it's something, it's earning each day. It became my mantra, earn each day. At the end of each day, I got to look at myself and say, hey, was I a good enough father? Was I a good enough husband? Did I make a difference? Did I help someone today? Or did I waste this chance I've been given? Because there's 1,000 other Americans today that are going to die from cardiac arrest that aren't going to get this chance. So I can't ever take it for granted.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Such an eye-opening experience. A lot of things that we take for granted, us in the law enforcement community and the public as well. You know, you sit on the couch, you have a day off, and you just want to put your feet up and I'll take care of it tomorrow. And you see a void, and you're filling that void. You see a need, and it gives you passion, and you can see your passion coming through and filling that void. What Griffith Blue Heart, your nonprofit? How do you fill that void with your nonprofit? What kind of services do you provide? What kind of trainings do you provide?
So first thing we got to look at is we had to look at what is the problem here? Why does the system fail? Why is there only a 7 to 9% survival rate around the country? Well, how is it the cardiac community has failed this badly? To not only you say cardiac arrest. I mean, before you talked to me today, did you know it was an electrical issue? Did you think I had a heart attack?
Me personally, I would have said a heart attack.
Most people do, and it's okay. The heart attacks are plumbing issues. Cardiac arrest is electrical. It's like a clogged pipe versus you plug in the Christmas tree and it shorts out, right? Most people don't know about that. They don't know that we lose 30,000 kids under the age of 18 to electrical malfunctions. All those stories you see where kids playing basketball, hockey, swimming, they just drop dead, just like we just saw on Monday Night Football this week.
Yeah.
All those stories are cardiac arrest, and no one can fathom that a perfectly healthy 17-year-old kid can just drop dead. So we had to look at the issue. What is the problem? How do we actually save lives? And it's rapid defibrillation. CPR, it's not like you see in TV. You don't press on someone's chest for a couple seconds and they go, I'm alive, or they flatline. You're not restarting a dead car battery, right? The heart's in that arrhythmia, and you shock them to restore it back to a normal rhythm. Mm-hmm. So we had to sit there and go, well, why is defibrillation an issue? Well, 4 out of 5 cases happen in the home. I mean, there's a ton of great programs out there that are about, hey, get AEDs at sports arenas and airports and supermarkets. Hell yes, I'm all about that. But it's only 13% of cases. 77% happen inside the home. In your house right now, do you have an AED?
I do not.
Most people don't. Are you prepared? Is your spouse, is your kids prepared if you go down? They know what to do, because most cops, most firefighters, we're at the highest risk. We're going to go down. We have these overactive endocrine systems. We're sleep deprived. We're caffeine addicted. We don't get to work out the way we're supposed to. We have all these different things that compound against us that contribute to a 70% higher rate of heart disease in our community. Most guys, our spouses get too complacent. If anything ever happens, please a cop, he'll take care of it. Or my wife's a firefighter, she'll save the life. They don't think about what happens when they're the ones that go down. And so we had to look at this problem and say, why is it that defibrillation is an issue? We have fire and EMS services. What's going on? Well, fire and EMS services, the way they're dispatched, is stacked against us, right? They have a goal of getting to your house within 6.5 minutes if something happens. No department's at that. Almost every single agency in the country has an average response time of between 6.5 to 13, 14 minutes. Mm-hmm. And you start looking at it, and it's like, all right, so for every minute you wait to initiate CPR, the chance of survival drops 10%. So if you're waiting 7-8 minutes for the fire department to get on scene, by the time they get on scene, put on their PPE, prime the heart, talk to the medical director, do everything all their protocols are supposed to do, the time to first shock could be anywhere from 3 to 11 minutes.
Wow.
So if you're waiting 7 minutes and 3 to 4 minutes after that to get shocked, what are your chances of survival? Almost nothing. So unless they're on scene first, they're not getting it. Most people don't have AEDs in the home. So we said, well, how can we fix this problem? Because I was a half a mile from the fire department the day I died. I figured everything happened, I'd be good. But they were on another call, and they have advocate response. That diabetic patient they were with, they can't toss them, a Snickers bar or M&Ms and say, good luck, someone's worse than you down the road. Right. The next closest unit gets dispatched. They're on a car accident. So it took them 9.5 minutes to me because the third unit that was dispatched had to respond. Mm-hmm. So how do we solve this problem, right? The police departments, we have full squads of guys, 3, 4, 10, or however big your department is. You got full squads of guys that are deployed all throughout the community. if we're on a barking dog call or a civil complaint and someone's dying a block away, we have to break, right?
Yep.
So it's a force multiplier because we're already spread out throughout a community. And most of the time we can get on scene in the first 1 to 4 minutes and we have the highest chance of saving someone's life. So the first program we had to associate was getting life-saving devices in cops' hands. We had to figure out how to get AEDs, whether that's through grants, city funds, corporate sponsors, hospital donations, whether that's through fundraisers, whatever we had to do, we had to figure out how to get these life-saving devices in the hands of our fastest first responders.
Right.
But then it's like, you can't just toss them in the back. You have to, how is it going to be funded? How's it going to be supported? Who's going to report this to their medical director? How is the system of care going to roll out? So we had to go, okay, what policies do we put in place? What chain of command do we have to put in place? How do we make this successful? Dispatch protocol. Some agencies, as soon as you call, hey, 911, what's your emergency? My husband's not breathing. Fire department goes directly to them. And there could be a cop across the street on a traffic stop that could have saved someone's life that has no idea that's going on. So we have to fix dispatch protocol. There's so many different variables that the cardiac community doesn't understand how law enforcement works. Right. Citizens we look at, we're not protected by the Good Samaritan laws. We're also not, we don't have the same protocols as fire and EMS, right? We're smack dab in the middle and no one knows what to do with us. So we kind of get the leftovers on both sides of it and have to figure it out. So that's the need I saw, was how do we optimize this program? How do we implement systems of care to help cops do what they have to do? We're already on scene doing CPR. We're already compressing away going, when is fire going to get here? Get them the high quality training we need and get them the life-saving devices and medical applications. That way they can do what we do best.
Man, absolutely. And I know in this area, our dispatch, they let us know if fire EMS is going to a certain call, what that call is. We also get dispatch with them for any kind of cardiac arrest or anything that requires an AED response. And I mean, many times we get, like you said, where we're in our zones or beats or whatever each department calls them, you're couple minutes away, so we're normally first on the scene. You're giving out directions. First on the scene, you find out where that person is and you're administering care. And then 9 times out of 10, it's in a location where you do have to have the training does come into effect, because you're looking around, you've got this person over here, you got this person down here that you're giving care to, you're guiding in a newer FTO where that person may not know that the back of the hotel, you have to go around a certain building to get to the back of the hotel that only seasoned officers know. Certain things like that come into play. Is that what your situation and trainings, they also show and dictate and help teach all that as well?
We do. We do a walk, crawl, run. We go through that. We do a didactic classroom phase. We do skills building phase to really do high performance with high-tech feedback mannequins. And we do it with bleeding simulators for hemorrhage control and overdoses and all kinds of stuff. And then we do all reality-based training where we incorporate dispatch. We incorporate officer safety. We incorporate evidence preservation. We incorporate the stuff that cops have to worry about, because there's also a self-preservation aspect of it, right? How many times are we going to be on a scene where it's not safe for fire and EMS to be in? Mm-hmm. Constantly. What happens when your officer was shot, but that tourniquet, you put the tourniquet on, but they lost so much blood it induced a cardiac arrest. I can compress on my buddy's chest all day and it's not going to do anything without that defibrillator, but they're refusing to come in because the suspect's pinned down somewhere. Yeah. What do you do? How do you save your own buddy's life if you don't have the tools to do it? How do you save your own life? And that's some of the things we had to address. Is that this is an issue for us. And when departments start realizing that instead of paying out benefits to widows, instead of having officers out on long-term care who suffer heart attacks or heart failure or strokes or aneurysms or anything on duty, they can start being preventative and proactive in these cases, getting heart screenings, getting sleep policies in there, helping get the life-saving equipment their guys needs, because we have to save ourselves first if we're going to serve the community, right? So we have to incorporate all these aspects, from health and wellness to the service in the community to reality-based training to a system of care. And it's complex, and it's a lot of times, man, it takes a year and a half to implement a lot of these programs with agencies, because we're starting from, because what works for a small municipal agency is not going to work for a large one. What works for county isn't going to work for a state agency. Right. So it very much has to be custom tailored, and everybody wants the quick fix. Everybody wants to just, hey, copy paste. How do I expand this across multiple avenues? And they want to make a quick buck and sell it, move on to the next one. No, if you want to make true lasting change, you need to take the time to do it right and implement it and let it grow. Cops 10 years ago, were you carrying tourniquets? Did you have Narcan?
No, neither.
No. No cop wanted to carry it. It was like, man, we started carrying hemorrhage control stuff out of self-preservation. If I get shot or if I go to an active shooter scene, I need to have this in case I'm hit, right? But all of a sudden, we're responding to suicide attempts, gunshot victims, car accidents. What are we gonna do? Stand there and let them bleed to death while I have this on my chest rig? No, we started using our devices to save lives, and it was like, hey, all of a sudden, cops got more saves than fire and EMS from bleeding control. Narcan, there was a huge pushback. Cops were like, we're not carrying pharmaceuticals. We're not EMTs. No one wanted to carry it until they're like, hey, what happens when you walk into that den and someone blows fentanyl in your face? What are you going to do? Oh, wait a second. So, and then all of a sudden, we're going to these overdoses of people that are going in and, hey, put this in their nostril, make a little squirt, and we got more saves from overdoses than fire and EMS. This is just the next stage in the evolution. Getting them the AEDs for our most prolific killer, which is heart disease, because this is what we're going to do. For comparison, we had 1,100 fatal police shootings last year, right? 697,000 Americans died from heart disease. What are we more likely to run across?
You just named it. Absolutely. The numbers won't lie.
And that's what we're trying to fix. That's what we're trying to get at, is how do we optimize this program? And who's the fastest first responders? Who thrives under stress? Who's able to perform like this? And it always comes down to cops. We're on scene. We're force multipliers. This is the answer, but especially in the last tumultuous years with the defund the police, with the bad image law enforcement's got, all these funds got repurposed for COVID. There was limited grants available. It was a struggle just to keep our nonprofit alive, and let alone donate and help agencies. So now I think the pendulum's starting to swing in the right direction, that people are getting back to being pro law enforcement and seeing the value in what we do in the community. What better way than saving lives? What better way than empowering our guys to go out and do what we're already doing in a more efficient manner?
Absolutely. And I think what you touched on was you touched on a lot of things, and it's very educating. I know a lot of the myths that go along, and I probably had the stigma as well, where if you had heart attacks, it was from working shift work, from 12-hour days during the day, 12 hours overnight. You got court, then you're drinking, like you said, caffeine pills. You're not eating. You're going to the local fast food shop because it's very convenient, because you're between calls and you got to type something up and you just want to get something in your system. It's so much, and it's not even intentional. You're working so much, you don't, like you said, you don't get to work out as much as you would want to. It's just circumstantial because of your schedule. And then all of a sudden, after you're 15, 20 years in the game, you drop over and have a quote unquote heart attack from all the years of stress. And what you're saying is definitely not, it doesn't always have to be that case. It can be so many different issues or aspects at case in point, just like the football game that was aired a few days ago.
And one of the biggest complications, though, is that our endocrine systems are in overdrive, right? The average citizen sees 3 to 8 critical stress incidents in their entire life. Right. That's what, a week for us, a shift. We see stuff that you're not supposed to see on a constant basis. So every single time you do a traffic stop, every time you do an FI or make a contact with a subject, your body is dumping cortisol, it's dumping dopamine, it's dumping neuroepinephrine. You're getting all these chemical dumps. So our glands, our endocrine systems are fatigued. And the way you normally work that off after traumatic incidents is proper workouts, nutrition, and rest. Nah, we're going right back 10-8. We're going to the next one, right? And when we get home, guys want to say, oh, I kick back and relax. No, cracking open a cold beer in front of the TV is not relaxing. Opening up an energy drink to stay awake during shift is about the worst thing you can do for it. Now, caffeine and coffee in small doses, a couple cups per day, has been shown to be very beneficial for your health. But energy drinks are about the worst thing you can put in your body. And we all know those guys that come into briefing and crack one open after the next throughout their entire shift.
Religious.
You don't sleep because all day, all shift, we're getting epinephrine. We're getting these big jumps. So we feel exhausted, but we're not getting good REM sleep. We're not getting good deep. We have to wake up and go to court. We got to get our kids to school. We got to go, to this function, to that function. We have responsibilities as leaders in our community we have to take care of. Mm-hmm. So we constantly put our health and well-being on the back burner. So to compensate for that, we go to caffeine. To compensate for that, we go to the gas station or hit the drive-through because I was too exhausted to make a healthy meal for this. And our departments aren't helping it. We're also not, most of the time our insurance covers a good heart screening. How many cops do you know actually get their hearts checked? They may do a physical, but how many are getting cardiac workups, getting their calcium checks, doing a cardiac MRI and EKG? It's covered by your damn insurance and you know you're at a higher risk. Stop putting it off. Get yourself checked, because most of the time, every time I do one of these podcasts, I'm so blessed that I get these phone calls from guys that are saying, hey, I listened, I went out, I got my heart checked, I got my kid's heart checked, and guess what? My son has cardiomyopathy, or I found out I have a blockage. I found out this, and that makes my day when we get to save people before it happens. And it's something that all these things compound against us. I mean, the environments we work in, we're not supposed to be sitting in a car bored out of our mind for 3 hours and then going into all-out sprint and fight for your life. Going from, extreme cold to a heated car, or, here in Arizona, you're going from air conditioner or the gas station freezer to 120 degrees. So, I mean, the body's not meant to take what we do on a daily basis. So we need to start making better programs to take care of ourselves. So not only that we can live longer, but we can pass on our knowledge to the next generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you guys are taking notes. Hope you guys are writing this down, and definitely make sure you guys schedule that appointment to get checked. The insurance does cover it. Stay tuned. Sergeant Be Safe has a commercial interlude. Stand by.
I can't wait until my new children's book is finally published. Just riding along in my car, listening to music.
Yeah, of course you are. And you're not looking in your rearview mirror either.
OMG, is that Sergeant Be Safe behind me? Guess I should get out of the way.
Oh my goodness! Pull over to the right and get out of the way! There's an emergency up ahead and I need to get there! Drivers, you should be operating your vehicle with your radio at a reasonable level. You should also be aware of your surroundings, including what's behind you. So when I come through with my flashing lights and siren, you can immediately get out the way and I can go help whoever's in danger or whatever emergency is happening. Those seconds that it takes for you to pull over are very valuable. Me and my friends need every second imaginable so we can properly serve you. So pull over to the right immediately when you see our lights and sirens so we can go save a life.
Ah, my packages have finally arrived. About time. I'm sure glad I live in an area where nothing happens. Only action around here are deer chomping on people's flowers. I'll take him in after I get done cutting this here grass. This is my favorite pastime.
Aha! I see a package left unattended.
Another crime of opportunity.
Easy pickings for a guy like me. Oh no! There's Be Safe again.
Sergeant Be Safe,
Hello
is that
there.
You? It's good to see you.
Looks like I'm right on time again. Rob, you blind? Get out of there.
People make it so easy for me to get caught.
Hold on now. He really wanted to steal my packages?
Yes, he did.
Sergeant Be Safe, you're the best. The coolest cat in the land. You saved the day again. We need more like you, brother. We need more like you.
Trust me, I truly appreciate the glory and accolades. But you can really thank me by being vigilant over your property and making my job easy. Well, back to jail you go.
Ooh.
Package thieves are the worst. Even if you can't get home in time, invest in the security camera so you can catch these thieves. And their next view will look like this. Trust me, this isn't a good view. These seats aren't made for comfort, they're made to transport. Kids, this is one seat you don't want to sit in. Just imagine what your parents would think.
Ooh.
And this is Sergeant Be Safe giving you another tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.
All right. right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are still here with Brandon Griffith with Griffith Blue Heart, his nonprofit. We've been talking about cardiac arrests and defibrillators and his personal story and situations and personal things that we've all gone through with those of us in the law enforcement community. Brandon, I want to ask you what I hate to ask this question this way. I always hate it, but it kind of gives you an end-game goal in mind. What's your end-game goal for your company, your nonprofit itself? Really, realistically, a 3 to 5 year. But where do you visualize your nonprofit in the next 3 to 5 years? I'll put it that way.
Man, I'm a street cop, right? I'm a knuckle dragger, and I had to learn the business side of things like so many guys that leave the field. So I'll tell you that I want to learn more about the business applications, the fundraising side of it, the stuff I'm not good at. Me and my guys are phenomenal at program implementation, at instruction and training. So being able to grow and scale this and start doing train the trainer programs and implement this with agencies across the country, because that's how we make the force multiplier. That's how we really save lives. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say it keeps me up at night that we could save hundreds of thousands of lives each year if more agencies adopted these programs. I mean, we have literally quadrupled survival with the agencies we've implemented the stuff with. We are getting dozens of saves at a time, and it's something that I am incredibly proud of. I want this to grow like everything else. Like it's common nature now for cops to have tourniquets. It's common for everyone to have Narcan. It's expected. I want this level of training, and I want reality-based training for resuscitation to become the norm for law enforcement. Like, we go out and do force-on-force training, we do simulations. I want that to be the regular for resuscitation, because that's what we're more likely to run across. I want this to spread like wildfire, and that's where we're trying to get to, the point where we can do a train the trainer, come to an agency, train your guys how to run this, accredit you, and help you, give you templates, give you recommended gear lists, show you guys how to do this yourself, because we don't want to be the only ones doing it. So many times, especially in the cardiac and business communities, everyone wants to be the only one doing what they're doing. You know, you're either with this manufacturer, you do this CPR program or this CPR program, or you do this. I'm tired of that. We're public servants first. Cops and firefighters don't think that way. We need to solve this problem. We're problem solvers. That's what I want this to get to, the point where this is out of the hands of corporations. This is out of the hands of that. This is public servants problem solving and doing what we best and adopting these programs to serve our community, because preservation of life is our highest priority.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yes. So throughout that system itself, we talked about the 5-year goals. And wanting to implement that with departments. You answered one of the questions I was going to ask. Do you actually go out to individual departments, or do you have a location where departments or trainings come to you? And with that, once the training is administered, I saw on the website you offer follow-ups, or you offer trainings for grants, or you offer trainings to keep the funding going or to keep the projects going. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, we do it all. Once we partner with an agency, we work with them and we work with their command staff. I mean, a lot of times you get passed off to a training sergeant or somebody else that's already overworked and has too much on their plate. So you have to go from the top down. You have to get buy-in from the command staff and then implement it from the top down. So once we work with command staff members, we implement an entire system of care. And like, if I work my butt off and I write all these grants, I mean, I get you $100,000 grant and I give you this program, you need to have a plan in place. We're going to sustain that. I'm not going to give you $100,000 worth of free stuff if you're not going to make this program a success. Right. So we need to have checks and balances in place. So we need to make sure, okay, how are you going to sustain this program? As a private EMS group, can I help you with pads and batteries? Are you going to put this in your patrol budget? Are you going to factor in the cost of this? Are you getting grants? What is your game plan? Because unless you have a plan to sustain this, if you have policies in place, if you have a chain of command, you can't assign this to, Officer Klee. You need to assign it to a position in the department, because when Officer Klee retires or goes to do something else, the program crumbles because he held all the knowledge. You need to have it in writing first. You need to have that. You need to have that chain of command, working with medical directors, making sure you're in compliance with state legislation. All of that has to be there. We are very fortunate to do consulting and work all over the country. We get calls from agencies. It's like, hey, we just bought AEDs. We want to do a policy. We want to figure out how to sustain this. Or, hey, we need to figure out this. Can we get a recommended gear list? Or can you come out and do training for us? We have agencies, from Hawaii to California to Pennsylvania to all over wanting to work with us right now. And we're lining up trainings for the 2023 year. We're trying to get to the point where we're doing the train the trainer. And yes, we will come to you. We will travel. We will get out there. We will put on high performance resuscitation training. It's an eye opener, and we are actually proving that cops are better at resuscitation than most ER nurses and doctors. We are very competitive. We want to beat each other. We're very good at doing muscle memory and fine motor skill development. Everything we do on the firearms range translates into resuscitation, your depth, your recoil, getting that perfect rhythm. So cops, we're doing this program with them, and we have increased overall resuscitation scores to 98%. It's the lowest score we've ever had at the end of our courses. We go back 6 months to a year later, and cops are still in the high 80s, low 90s. And most of the time, ER docs and physicians, they have to train quarterly because after about 60 days, their scores plummet. Well, look at their training. They walk in, there's a big gurney with a big mannequin on it. There's no stress. They go out there, they sing Staying Alive while they're doing their compressions, and that's, hey, they're good to go. There's no stress. They're not triggering their parasympathetic nervous system. There's no realism to it. There's nothing on the line. Once you start getting those adrenaline rushes in training and it make you critically think under stress, guys remember that. They go, man, that was good training. We need to be doing this more often. And that's what we're trying to get to with the levels of it, to be able to expand that and show other cops how to do this so we don't have to physically be the ones doing it all the time, but still advise them.
Gotcha. So if there's a department that's watching right now, or they're going to watch the replay, and the website, your website's scrolling below, and it's also in the comment section, and they wanted to reach out to you, other than the website, how would they get in contact with you?
MattGriffithBlueHeart.com. We've got the website. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Brandon Griffith. We're going to start going on other more. I'm not a big social media guy. I got to get on that though, because that's just the world we're living in. So we are going to start getting Instagram and Facebooks and all that stuff. But they can contact us direct. We've got our emails listed out there. My phone number is easy to get a hold of. If they want to get a hold of Griffith Blueheart and start working on these programs, we're more than happy to work with them.
Absolutely. Hey, Brandon, you gave a great live. I appreciate everything you've done. You donated at a wonderful time. Your story is incredible. Before we go, through the course of conversation, there may be a question I forgot, or there may be something triggered that you may have remembered. Is there anything that you would like to share with us right now? As of right now, the floor is yours.
Again, I just really want to strive the fact that, prepare your loved ones. Don't let your loved ones become another statistic. I don't want you to be in that situation when your spouse, your parent, and your kid drop in front of you and you questioning your ability. I don't want you to have that. I want you to play those what ifs that we do on the streets. What happens right now if at dinner my wife collapses into her dinner plate? What do I do when my kid drops? Is my kid's school prepared? Start being a champion for change, because that's what we are. We make the differences. Every time we put on that uniform, we sign a blank check up into including our own life. We can be the change we want to see. We can start implementing it, be those champions, and start going out there. Make sure your schools are prepared. Make sure that your homes are prepared. Take care of yourself. Don't wait for your department to sponsor or to buy it. Take your own initiatives. Get your hearts checked. Take care of those around you. That's what you do as a leader. You take care of those around you and make sure that you are earning each day you're given, because it can literally end in a heartbeat. Don't let this job become too entwined with your identity. Too often, guys, I am a cop. That's who I am. No, that's what you do. And literally in a heartbeat, your entire career path could change. A car accident, anything else. Have backup plans. Don't be one of those guys that go down that mental health rabbit hole or start going towards suicide because you didn't start thinking of what happens out this. Don't become that role. You are still a husband or a father or a wife or a family member or an advocate or a gymnast or whatever it is that you're into, but start adopting things outside of this role and have backup plans, because we need people like you, people that are willing to raise their hands and go out there and serve the communities and make those differences. So earn each day you're given.
Love it. I love it. Brandon, thank you for coming on. I appreciate everything. I appreciate watching you move forward, watching you flourish. I hope the goals that you spoke of do get accomplished. I'm looking forward to watching departments grow. And you're saying cops are out here outperforming ER doctors and nurses. I like that. Yes, absolutely. We are very competitive. We're competitive in-house, and we're competitive. Each department, we're competitive nationally. So to actually hear that so much, we get so much grief in the world. So to actually hear some positives is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on and listening to me yap today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You gave a good story, gave a good testimonial. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for tuning in. We go live weekly. We got a special lineup for 2023. I'm excited about this entire year. We got so many good people, so many good stories, so many good situations coming down the pipeline. Tune in weekly. We go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys tag, like, and share, and stay tuned. We got Certain Be Safe. It's going to take us out, and we will see you guys again. 10-4, over and out.
Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Sergeant Be Safe here, and I'm stuck in the office. I'm stuck. You want to know why? I'll be completing reports for stolen vehicles. Yeah, that's right, stolen vehicles. I tell people all the time to lock their doors and put away their valuables. However, this continues to happen. Do you know that about approximately 95% of all auto thefts can be prevented? Here, let's go for a walk and I'll show you a few examples. Example number 1. You go to the store and you leave your car running. Little do you know that Chance Wilder's on the prowl. He sees your car running with the door unlocked, gets in it, and they're off! At the start.
Oh no!
Frustrating. Let's move on to example number 2. You're at home and the car's parked for the day. But you feel safe and secure and believe this could never happen to me. And there's Rob You Blind going from car to car. Just got caught though.
Pooper, be safe.
Hands up. You're coming with me.
Ooh.
People leave their car doors unlocked and believe it or not, their keys in them. Here's video footage of someone going onto someone's driveway and entering their car, and guess what? Stealing that too. Even if you don't keep your car key, don't keep your spouse's key in the vehicle either. Believe it or not, they park right beside you. So therefore, take the extra step, lock your vehicle, and take your keys inside. So here's a little bit of information for you. If your car is ever stolen, and then I find it and recover it, it's usually not in the same condition that it once was. It could have been involved in a motor vehicle accident because of joyriding, or just have more dents, scratches, and damage on it. You'll get an incident report and a tow bill. Your insurance company may cover the towing and recovering fee, but you could also have to come out of pocket with some extra expenses. So now let's move on to example number 3. Parking lots at major businesses are prime targets. Lock your doors, put valuables away, park in well-lit areas, and definitely do not, I cannot stress it any harder, leave your vehicle running in the parking lot. Because no matter how many times Rob You Blind and Wild Chance go to jail, they will always take advantage of a prime opportunity to take your valuables or steal your vehicle. Don't be an easy target. Hands up, you both are coming with me. Ooh. These are just a few examples of how you can protect yourself and be vigilant with your property. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Subscribe now.